MicroSurvey Point Prep's active drawing technology gives you a set of very powerful yet intuitive spreadsheet views for working with your data. I'm going to auto-hide our Properties panel just to get a little bit more screen space, and go to the Points menu and open up our Points database. Under the Window menu, I'm going to tile it to the left of the drawing, just to fit both of them into your view. The coordinate editor shows you several columns, so we've got our point coordinate number, the northing, easting, and elevation, and the description, as well as several other fields which I'll get to. In the coordinate editor, simply double-clicking on one of the points, you can see in the drawing, it zooms to center on that point and highlights it. This is a great way to quickly find out which points any particular record is actually about. Similarly, if you want to view multiple points, what we can do is click on the first and then hold down our Shift key while we click on the last one. It will select all of the points in between, just like in Excel. If we go to our Select menu, you can tell it to zoom selection or highlight selection. And you can see in the drawing it's showing us all of the selected points. If I go back to the Edit menu, you can see we've got several commands for manipulating points. I'm going to run the Lock-Unlock selection and tell it to lock these first 13 points. These points are actually our control points, part of a local network. So by locking them, we'll prevent the program from changing those coordinates. So if you're moving points in the drawing, running any calculation programs, these coordinates will not be changed. If I scroll over to the locked column, you'll see that they are indicated with the check mark. You can lock or unlock points individually by checking or clearing these boxes. I'm going to select all of these line points. So again, we'll hold down Shift while we click the last one. Highlight, and you can see that they've all shown up in the middle here. These are actually a bunch of paint lines. So what I'm going to do is go to our Edit menu, and perhaps we want to change the description from line to paint line. You can see they're quickly updated, and also the drawing immediately updates to show the new description of the points. You can also manipulate your coordinates very easily if we use the Set Selection Coordinates command. And maybe we want to change all of these elevations to 0 to convert them to 2D points. See, the elevation data disappears. The elevation labels in the drawing disappeared. But maybe we didn't want to do that. If we go to the Edit menu, we can quickly undo the change and the elevations come back. Similarly, if we go to the Edit menu, we can tell it to run the Shift Selection command. You notice that our elevations right now are in about the 393 range. If we, instead of clearing the elevations, maybe we want to shift them down 1 foot. We'll click OK. You can see they've now changed and they're all at 392. Whenever coordinates are changed, I'm just going to widen this out, you'll see this history flag appear. If I scroll up, the points that we haven't modified don't have a flag, and points that we have changed show the history flag. If I click on it, it'll open up our history window showing all of the changes that have been made to this point. You can see that this point was initially created with these original coordinates. Then we changed the line description to paint line, And then we change the elevation 3 times, first setting it to 0, then undoing that change, and then finally applying the shift by -1 feet. If you've ever looking for changes that you've accidentally made in the drawing, this is a really easy way to identify that. If you've collected any notes, photo notes, or audio notes from your MicroSurvey Layout project, they would also appear in these columns, and clicking them would either view the photograph or play the audio file. This map column is a really cool feature, and we can use this to view our points in a Google Maps window in your internet browser. This feature will only work for grid coordinates. For example, if your points are in a UTM, state planes, or other grid-based system. For example, if you're using GPS, that will be probably the case. I'm going to scroll down to some of our points here. And I'm just going to move the coordinate window out of the way a little bit. Double clicking on point 72, again that just centers us on this point in the drawing. So what I can do, if I click on this map button, now you'll see the buttons here are gray. The gray is indicating that we don't have a coordinate system selected yet. So it's going to ask us to choose one. In my area, I know that the system for this project is UTM NAT 83, Zone 11. And our internet window opens up, showing us the location of the selected point. You can zoom in, and you'll recognize the geometry, the sidewalk, and the parking lines from the drawing. In fact, if we zoom in even further, it'll go into Google Street View, and we can still see the points. This is a really great way of doing data check on your coordinates. If we go to the Edit menu, we'll see we have some more commands. For example, you can change the layer of the point node, as well as the elevation, description, and point number layers. Or if you're doing surface modeling, you can easily add or remove points from your surface models. Deleting points is really easy from the grid, as is renumbering points. Just going to come down to our ground shots here. And I'm just going to highlight points 87 through 133. If I tell it to renumber these, we have two options. We can either use a start number. For example, we can start numbering these points sequentially from, say, 1000. So they would be created, point number 87 would be stored as 1000, 88 as 1001, and so on. Or we can use an additive number to add a value to the existing point numbers. In this case, adding 1000 will create point number 1087, 1088, and so on. I'm going to close our coordinate editor and switch over again in the points menu to our measurements database. Again, we've got a spreadsheet based view. If I scroll down, we see our raw measurement data from the MicroSurvey Layout project. In this case, we've got a whole bunch of, we've got some store points. These are our control coordinates. And then we've got several GPS measurements. These are measuring the paint lines that we saw, the curbs, and the rest of our topography shots. Down at the bottom, we've got some total station measurements. And what we can do, I'm just going to move this over to the side. Double clicking on a measurement record will show us that measurement. In this case, the red line is our backsite, and the green line is the shot. we do cutsheet reports from our measurements database by going to the cutsheets menu. And what this does is it generates a report comparing the staked measurements, or your layout shots, made with the MicroSurvey Layout product compared to their design coordinates. You can use a tolerance filter to determine whether the shots are within tolerance or not. For example, if I set it to 0.005, all of the shots are very close, so this was a very accurate layout of these points. If you needed to make any changes to the actual measurement data, for example, if a target height was set incorrectly, we can make that change directly in this measurement database. For example, if we were supposed to have a target height of 2 meters for both of these measurements, we can set that. Then we can go to the Edit menu and tell it to re-coordinate the traverse. What this does is it goes through our measurement data and creates new points based on these measurements. So in this case, it would have calculated new elevations for both of these 2 points. So the measurement database is a great tool not just for reviewing your data, but also for making any corrections to it.